Yeah, Steve, I'll tell you, it's another quick lap around for Nikita Johnson. Field just starting to bundle back up the tail end of the field coming in as they get to the carousel. So surprisingly quick, but underway. Looking for green flag this time by. Nikita will bring them out, and indeed we are racing. Green, green, green. Down into turn number 1. Very quick left-hander. A couple drivers dive into the inside. Let's cross our fingers. Everybody gets through cleanly 2 by 2 all the way through the field. First time up out of turn number 1. They'll climb back up into the keyhole. See drivers defending to the bottom, trying to cover off that move to the bottom of the racetrack. Great start for Nikita Johnson. He'll go out to P1. Quickly, Christian Brooks trying the outside on his teammate Jace Denmark. He prefers to tuck back in. Everybody through the first couple of corners cleanly. In fact, everybody staying on the racetrack. Again, 20 drivers here in USF Pro 2000. The drivers, the very top level of the USF Pro Championships ladder systems. They work their way down now into turn number 4. Big move further back. Oh, one driver had to back out. That was, I believe, maybe Lockie Hughes, one of the turn 3 drivers seeing the potential chaos there as there was 3 wide coming into the braking zone of 4. He backed out of it. And that is a veteran move. There's no need to fight out this early, knowing if you have a good race car, you can only find yourself in trouble. And, of course, Lockie Hughes comes in with a different mindset than everybody else. 50-point lead over Jace Denmark. He's just got to clock those points up. He knows that totally he's trying to aim for. By the time they get to Portland, he'll just try to get the best finishes he can. Up front, Nikita Johnson needs to dig in. He's significantly back, about 56 points back. He'd like to get a couple of victories here. But Lockie Hughes has always been fast here at Mid-Ohio. First lap goes in the books, nice and clean. Nikita Johnson comes across the line to get things underway. Jace Denmark in second, Christian Brooks third, Simon Sykes in fourth. There's a battle further back between Tyke Durst and I believe Cooper Becklin. That's the tail of the field. Behind Sykes is Mac Clark. Good jump for Mac. He gets up to P5 on the opening circuit. Lockie Hughes slots into 6th. Braden Eves falls down to 7th. 8th, Frankie Mossman. 9th, Ricardo Escoto. And 10th is George Garcia-Arce, the rookie making his debut here this week. And Alessandro D'Attulio clean on the opening lap in the number 78. And that's what you want out of a driver like Alessandro D'Attulio. His first opportunity to run here in this USF Pro Championships program after the strong year in USF Juniors back in 2022. He's got a program lined up to potentially run all next year in 2025. So this is a fact-finding mission. Learn as much as you can. Doesn't need to worry about results, John. Just come in here, get a good race, get the experience you need, and get all 60 laps on the day.
Exactly right. It's all about finishing. You got to finish in order to score points, and that's the whole point. We had yesterday with some mixed weather conditions for all of our races yesterday. Was a real challenge for our younger drivers, but these guys are seasoned professionals, and they've got a clean track to work with all day today. So looking for 2 good races from these guys. They've been clean so far.
And, John, for the most part, these drivers have come up through our system, right? The USF Juniors program starting back in 2022, and we'll see drivers kind of start working their way through from there. Perfect example would be Matt Clark. He won the championship that year in 2022, moved up to USF 2000, ran that all last year. Dabbled in USF Pro 2000 at the end of the season, full season here. So now that we're 3 years into the program with USF Juniors installed as our intro program into our ladder system, we'll see the fruit of that starting to come now into USF Pro and then eventually into the Indy Next Series as well. Solid running thus far as Johnson leads, Denmark in second, Brooks third, Sykes fourth. So good start, I think, for the Pabst Racing drivers as well, John, as they were able to start second, third, and fourth. That's where they're holding station right now, and we'll see whether or not Nikita Johnson can pull away. More fighting further back, though, and that is a scrap. I think, that is Matt Clark going to work. Does he get around the outside of Simon Sykes? Moving to the inside, he does not. And, in fact, Sykes holding the spot. Clark now under attack from Lockie Hughes. Will go to the inside of turn 6. Book it. He's to the inside, and it's Lockie Hughes coming back, and there's the payoff. He didn't fight for it in turn number 4 on the opening lap, but he just waits, bides his time.
Yep.
John shows the patience. Pays off, and he's back to P5.
Exactly right. He's won championships, of course, at every level he's raced at, and Lockie's certainly somebody who's going to be a threat to clinch the championship here with a 50-point lead. And like you said, he's a smart racer. He's not going to put himself in jeopardy. He realizes he just needs to keep his nose clean, stay in the top 5. He'll be in good shape going into race number 2 this afternoon.
And, John, we've always had Australians in the NTT IndyCar Series. This kid could be the next one on his way.
Exactly.
He's shown, like you said, he's won all the way up. Everything he's run, he's been able to win a championship. So So indeed, if it happens here as well, this kid's just one step away from next, one step away from IndyCar, and away we go. So he's going to try to push his way forward. He actually started to pull away from Simon Sykes a bit. Rusty Bell, you'll see them as they come out of turn number 2. Looks like Nikita Johnson with 0.6 of a second, but Lockie Hughes, the driver, on the move.
Yeah, we watched him last lap. It looked like he was setting that up about the kink here. We got 3 cars right together. The number 6 involved in that. Braden Eves also. They were side by side here at the kink, Tom.
And we've got a couple of cars touched there, back there in that battle for 5th place. It continues to be the 7th car, Matt Clark. Simon Sykes right there. Looks like Sykes is able to get the nose ahead up through 7.
Yeah, that battle now coming down into turn number 9. The patience you can see from Matt Clark. He got right up on the rear wing of Simon Sykes into the corner, but backed it out, stayed in line, realized he didn't have an opportunity there. Long race to go. They're up through turn number 11.
Yeah, Steve, I believe the move there, all that chaos that Tom was telling us about was, I think, Frankie Mossman able to get by Braden Eves. They were fighting side by side. We'll see as they come back onto the front straightaway. And indeed, Mossman is able to get by. And I think George Garcia Arce up there as well. Indeed, Garcia Arce goes to 7th, Mossman 8th. Eves actually back to 9th right now. So not going in the right direction here for Braden Eves, a driver who, has said, now lives in Indianapolis, but New Albany, Ohio, the hometown for Braden Eves. Again, his last weekend here is he'll shut down his USF Pro 2000 campaign this year for lack of funding. Going to keep fighting to try to get back behind the wheel, whether it's an open wheel, whether it's a sports car. Former USF 2000 champion Braden Eves, very impressive, of course, throughout his entire career. He's had some ups and downs. John, you mentioned this yesterday, a horrific wreck at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 2020, where he was injured there, but finally was eventually able to come back, which was a fantastic story for Braden in the series. And again, this kid's a talent that needs to get behind the wheel of something here for the remainder of 2024 and throughout the remainder of his career. Still very involved in karting as well, works with one of the karting teams, MPG Motorsports, as a coach. So again, this kid, Braden Eves, very much in connect with all of motorsports from his grassroots all the way through to where he is right now. Still coaching some of the drivers in USF Juniors as well. We saw a full field run through 5 and 6 there. Nikita Johnson's lead stretching out to almost a full second right now. Simon Sykes rolls through right there. Matt Clark, George Garcia Arce. Leaders have come onto the front straightaway. Now back down into turn number 1. There's your lead for Johnson. And this is one of those guys, when you give him a lead like this, he's probably not going to let go of it. He's just so strong. We've seen him do a bunch of great things. Obviously in USF 2000, kind of came up through the ranks, ran juniors, ran USF 2000. He made his debut last year in USF Pro 2000 at the Circuit of the Americas and promptly went out and won, smacked everybody. So that was kind of the call of, hey, this kid's one of the ones to watch. And I know a lot of people in the IndyCar paddock are already watching Nikita Johnson. John, not only does he run the USF Pro 2000 category, he's doing the full season in GB3. Well, he had to turn 16 first because you have to be 16 in GB3, but he'll do the remainder of the season in GB3. So no lack or shortage of seat time for Nikita Johnson.
Exactly right. And, you know, he won 4 races in the first half of the season. And unfortunately, with a DQ at the middle round at Indianapolis and the penalty that ensued, that knocked him out of the points lead. So he really would be the points leader, quite frankly, had that not happened. But nonetheless, he's 3rd in the points, and he's got some making up to do. But he's only 7 points behind Jace Denmark. So, you know, he could definitely make up some ground, get up into 2nd, and begin to chew away at that lead that Lockie Hughes has built up.
John, we've announced races so many times, you and I here together, and how many times do we come here and all of a sudden this becomes that pivotal weekend in the championship? Right. Either a driver steps up and pulls away this weekend and kind of defeats their primary competition and then runs through to the end of the season, or it's that mid-season shift where somebody comes in and sweeps and goes from 4th in the points to 2nd or 1st, right? This racetrack is so important just based on where it's always put in the schedule.
Yeah, exactly right. It's usually, about the midway point or the beginning of the second half of the season. So it's quite frequently pivotal. And, we're looking for the same thing here this weekend. But right now, Nikita Johnson looking pretty strong out in front. He's built up about an 0.8 of a second lead, but Denmark's not letting him get away. He's basically matching his pace, staying right in that window where he doesn't have a lot of aero wash to contend with. And, he's just biding his time, waiting to see if he's got an opportunity to move up later in the race.
Jason, the same place. He's P2 in the points. He's trying to get, he's trying to get closer to Lockie Hughes. If he's in front of Lockie, he's getting the job done. He's closing that lead. Yep. He's 2 points in front right now. He's got his teammate Christian Brooks behind him right now, who's starting off his long day of racing with 2 races, an Indy Next practice, and an Indy Next qualifying session. So for a guy like Jace Denmark, he could even come back here next year. He's already tested Indy Next, so he'll probably try to move to Indy Next in 2025, but there's no doubt in my mind he'd like to get some wins. But again, showing what he's got, showing the consistency that he can be able to bring to the table. He's had, I think, 4 or 5, maybe 5 podium finishes already this year. Just doesn't have that race win yet, right? So that's one thing he wants to get. But, man, you keep knocking out second place finishes, and the points always keep adding up. So he's in front of Lockie Hughes. That's key for him right now. Again, trying to keep himself within striking distance by the time they get to Portland at the end of August. Again, Rusty, back down by you, top 4 with decent gap, but looks like there's a battle potentially coming for third.
Yeah, the car on the move right now is Lockie Hughes is tightening it up a little bit. I do have a question, Rob, about tire management for these guys. So we're seeing Nikita Johnson just run away here at the front, maintain that gap, but will tire management become an issue by the end of this one?
You know, Rusty, a very good question, because, again, I think we've all talked about it from the very get-go. The track itself, the track surface, how rough it's going to be on the tires is kind of an unknown with the off-season repave. So our drivers with 2 races, get 3 sets of new tires. They'll use either 1 or 2 new sets during qualifying, scuff 1 set in potentially to get the heat cycle in it to run. So they may have 1 fresh set, and that's why sometimes you'll see a driver potentially wait off on that next set, that fresh set for race number 2. Nikita's probably on a fresh set here, like, I'm out front, I need that race win, let's start putting some hammer down. And again, I don't know that over a 30-lap race, we're going to see a lot of tire fall off at the end as the car gets lighter and lighter. We keep turning fast laps, and these Continentals have really shown to be super consistent throughout a run. But again, the unknown is what will this track do in terms of beating up on these tires?
Yeah, and you're right. The battle is on for third. Lockie Hughes right on the tail of Christian Brooks up into the keyhole. That's coming back at you, Rusty.
Watching it now, it's about a car length when they exited the keyhole turn. He's trying to get a little bit of a draft, but it's about 2 car lengths. He's back just a little too far to make a dive here at the top end of the straight, but he's getting closer.
Yeah, he is getting closer. Probably a car length and a half separating our 3rd and 4th place runners. Brooks, then Hughes. They're in the big chase, trying to get after Nikita Johnson and Denmark, but they've got their own dandy battle going on right now.
And the field here in front of me in turn number 9, watching that battle now. It's about 3 car lengths actually back to Lockie Hughes. He slipped off a little bit here coming down into Thunder Valley, but trying to gather it back up and get back towards Christian Brooks, towards the carousel.
I was going to say, John, I'll tell you this. This is this racetrack. This is Aero Wash we talked about, right? Yep. Right up on him coming into turn number 4. Then he loses 3 car lengths by the time they get over to Steve in turn number 9. You're doing the best you can, but every time you're making that turn in, you're getting that little bit of understeer. You just can't quite stay with it. You're plowing the front. That is one thing that the drivers always are concerned about, because the more you're plowing, the more you have that understeer, the more you're working those front tires. A lot of drivers will back off, cool those tires back down again, then restart the fight.
Lockie's really good on this section of the racetrack. It makes me wonder, he may have that car trimmed out a little bit. He's got a little less downforce on it to try to get a little better straight line speed, because he knows he's going to have to make some passes to get himself to the front.
Yeah, he looked really good coming down through the keyhole, like you said, was right on the gearbox there. Get a little bit of aero wash, but here he comes with a big run back down into turn number 4. No, didn't even have a look. Christian Brooks still turning good laps, and let's throw this out there again. We've already seen the patience out of Lockie Hughes, right? At the opening lap, when they went 3 wide, they literally drove around the outside of him, and he was the guy that kind of backed out of it in turn number 4, saying, okay, you guys are going to do that? I'm okay. I've got a 50-point lead. I'll back off a little bit here. We're only to the first third of the race. 10 down, 20 laps to go. He knows how this plays out. We could get a yellow. No need to burn your tires off right now. Every driver knows that a restart's the best opportunity to make an overtake anyways. This field has stretched out like it often does at Mid-Ohio. This is a driver's track. It's not a facility where if you're off the pace by a full second, the draft somewhere like a Road America, you're going to be able to come back in even if you're a second off on outright pace. This is a track where you need to drive. You can see more of the fighting further back outside the top 10 as these guys continue to scrap it out for 11th, 12th, 13th. But for a driver showing the patience like we have right now with Lockie Hughes, he knows this is a long run. He's in P4. A podium's big for him. The drivers in front of him are all in the championship fight. I will say that. Johnson, Denmark, and Brooks sit, third, second, and fourth. So the guys he's scrapping for the championship are the ones that are in front of him right now, but with such a lead that he has, he can afford to take his time and maybe wait a little bit, John, to the end of the race.
Yeah, I mean, and he's battling for third. I mean, Christian Brooks also has a bit of a disadvantage. He alluded to it in an interview with DJ Clark yesterday, jumping in and out of the Indy Lights car and into this car. He's got to sort of recalibrate himself every time he makes that transition. So it takes him a while to, get back up to speed in each of those cars because, they're fundamentally pretty different. And, that's the battle that he's fighting. But he looks pretty comfortable right now, but he's got his mirrors full of that Australian for sure.
Significantly less downforce than the Indy next car. Obviously, significantly less horsepower, about 170 less horsepower as well. The braking's going to be a lot different. Of course, next car has the turbo as well. So it's such a different race car. And over the first couple laps, you're settling back in. Your marks are all different, right? Your braking position points are all different. But a driver with the experience of Christian Brooks goes back to the knowledge he knows, right? Goes back to those notes. Okay, I'm here. And those, to be honest, not being able to go green the first time might have helped Christian Brooks out a little bit. Another lap around this racetrack, understanding the weight of his car, where he can get, where he can take it, where he can put that car, and he was very good out of the gate. Let's reset the top 10 for you folks. Nikita Johnson is your leader. The gap now 1.3 seconds, slowly inching away from Chase Denmark, who has his own gap over his teammate Christian Brooks. Brooks, of course, has built a gap. You can see right there now over Lockie Hughes. Simon Sykes runs in the 5th position. Matt Clark was P5 at one point, back to 6th. George Garcia-Arce up into 7th, which I think for Garcia-Arce, very impressive for him. Started back in 14th, he's now 7th. Frankie Mossman runs 8th. Braden Eves 9th, and the two BN racing cars, Ricardo Escoto and Alessandro De Tullio in 10th and 11th. All told, a pretty good race right now. We got a good fight here coming down through turn number 6 and 7. I think that might have been a little further back to Tullio and Skeets, I think, lining up as well as they come back into Thunder Valley. Again, just closing up on the halfway point, lap 13 going in the books as they come back across. We'll look at the gap between potentially Sykes and Hughes last time by. Not quite. Sykes about 2/10 off there. The better battle here is that, I think Liam Skeets is right on De Tullio coming out onto the front straightaway. That's a good little scrap here between the driver just getting started here. Further back as well, a fight between Nicolas Baptiste and Cooper Becklin. We saw that as well. Another BN car and a TJ Speed car. So that battle between BN and TJ Speed being waged by 4 different drivers on the racetrack. But 1.6 seconds now for Nikita Johnson. As I said, this kid won all the way up in kart racing. We saw him win races in USF Juniors in 2022. He was a winner in USF 2000. You give a kid the lead like this, and like so many of the drivers, I don't want to say it's just Nikita, but so many of the drivers in the paddock, you give them a lead like this over a second, they're not going to give it up. They just know how to hit their marks.
Great little three-way battle, too, between Garcia-Arce, Mossman, and Braden Eves as they're separated by about a second for the 3 of them. Ricardo Escoto not that far behind them, but Mossman right up on the gearbox of Garcia-Arce when they crossed the line in the battle for 7th.
Yeah, Frankie was in a good little fight there with Garcia-Arce and Eves, so no doubt about it, he wants to try to get himself back up there. Mossman comes in here 10th place in points. Again, so I always say fact-finding missions, right? This is a first year here, first full season for Frankie Mossman here in USF Pro 2000. Single car effort at Jay Howard Driver Development, so he's got only his lines of data. But for him and what he's been able to do, some really good runs on the season, all setting up for another full season in 2025 where he'll think about the championship. So I've liked what Frankie Mossman's been doing throughout the entire season. He's had a really strong run. He's stayed out of trouble for the most part and has done a tremendous job. Johnson, though, out of turn number 2 and back down into turn number 3 and 4. Tom Michaels, he's got a pretty solid lead right now, 1.5 seconds heading to you.
Absolutely. We watched pretty much equidistance between the first maybe 5 cars and then a big gap back as we look running by himself now at Matt Clark car coming through here. The number 7 by us, and then that battle you were talking about, Garcia-Arce, Mossman, Eves, Escoto, just 1, 2, 3, 4, right together on the racetrack as they battle there for the number 7 position.
Yeah, in fact, taking a quick little peek on entry to turn number 9 was the 92 of Braden Eves, as he couldn't get anything there done under braking, but they'll stay single file. That is a tight battle heading to 11.
Being told a car slowing on the backstretch right now, the 33 of Tyke Durst, potentially with a mechanical down the backstretch. But that battle we were following there, the best one on the racetrack right now, that's the number 10 of Garcia Arce. Tons of pressure from Mossman, Eves, Escoto. They'll work their way. Rusty, you'll see him coming out under the bridge in turn number 1. That's a fantastic scrap right now. 7th back to 10th.
Watching them up into the keyhole, a little bit of defensive driving going on the last couple of laps. We do have that car 33 right now that is pulled off. Tyler Durst is in one of the track cuts here just off the straightaway. They haven't gone yellow back here. I believe he's probably in a safe enough spot, but here comes that great battle. Mossman looking for a way around. They're both driving into the grass on the inside. Mossman to the outside.
They are side by side coming into 4. Peeking a nose ahead. That's Garcia Arce right there on his left rear wheel, trying to pull up. Mossman, they are still, and they have had at least one other car join that battle.
Yeah, there are 5 cars there now taking a peek to the inside. They are side by side. That is Eves and Escoto. They'll stay side by side all the way up through turn number 10 through Thunder Valley. And Escoto has pressure from DeTulio.
Yeah, we got some great racing. This has brought a number of drivers back into the fight. DeTulio, Skeets all in there as well. Denny Jashelski. Look at the lineup we have here right now. The fight between Garcia Arce and Mossman has really fired things up. Eves not quite able to get it done. Look to the inside of turn number 9. That's a tough one to get if the guy on the outside doesn't give it up at all, because you're going to be side by side coming down into Thunder Valley. Unless you have that run to kind of beat him up into turn 10 and 11, you got to give that one up back to the carousel. They are fighting side by side. Look at this. 2 wide, 3 wide. This is again to the inside. This is a good battle. Everybody's in the fight now. Escoto, DeTulio, Skeets, Jashelski's in there. Krista Dulu, Ethan Ho. Line them all up and fight it out here. That is just inside the top 10. 7th back to probably 15th right now as they work their way down through the kink. Turn 3 into turn 4. Do we see anybody making a dive? No, they kind of settle back in a little bit. It's almost like this battle kind of all started to happen. Everybody kind of taking account of where they are. Okay, I'm in this fight again. What am I doing? Where am I going to be able to make the move? And it's not a track mid-Ohio where there's tons of overtaking opportunities. You kind of have to set up passes over 3, 4, 5 corners, over, under, position yourself to make that move in the right spot. Of course, down the back straightaway to turn number 4 is one of the best, as is coming up into the keyhole turn 2. Otherwise, you really have to manufacture a pass here, and it oftentimes takes a little bit. Driver slowing as well. Another one of the drivers slowing on the outside. They're not sure who that was, but back onto the racetrack. Yeah, might have been the 77 of Escoto, who's slow coming out there. Not quite sure what happens. They come back across the line. Nonetheless, some great racing here. Again, Johnson's holding a 1.4 second lead. I will say this, Nikita Johnson just chipped in about a 10th of a second. Rather, Chase Denmark chipped a 10th of a second out, trying to close back up. But that fight continuing. This may be the run here for Frankie Mossman. Gets a good draft coming out of turn 2, down turn 2 and 3. We're going to see what kind of a defense we get. Yeah, all the way down to the bottom of the racetrack. There goes Garcia Arce. It's going to be a full send to the outside right now. Not quite enough. Maybe. Oh, they'll be side by side coming up through turn number 5. Mossman trying to get it done, and he does. Book it in turn number 5. Gets it done, and here comes Braden Eves. John, it did look like Garcia Arce was kind of holding everybody up a little bit, running that defensive line. Mossman by. I expect him to jet out quickly. Now it's Eves going to work, trying to find P8.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of looked like Garcia Arce was being the cork in the bottle, basically. And now that he's been passed, we'll see if Braden Eves is going to be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, that was a potential bit of contact, I think, between Braden Eves and George Garcia Arce there in turn number 9 as Eves showed a nose down the inside. You can see how far Mossman's already jetted away. And I think Eves actually, he had to check out of that when the contact allowed both of the BN racing cars to get by, both Ricardo Escoto and Alessandro DeTulio. So Eves looks to the inside, John, in turn number 9. You've seen so many passes there as the number 74 of Baptiste coming into pit lane. Got in there and probably had to check up the contact. You got to get out of the throttle, and everybody else rolling around the outside. And again, you lose so much when you're not rotating and carrying all that speed down into Thunder Valley. So a couple of spots lost there for Braden Eves, but I don't think this battle's done at all. They're going to keep fighting as they work their way down to turn number 4.
Yeah, Mossman has disappeared, but the battle's right behind him, Tom Michaels.
Right now, nobody's going to challenge coming into turn number 4. We start there with the 10 car in 8th place. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 cars just nose to tail as they move their way through turn 7.
Yeah, they'll stay nose to tail all the way through turn number 9, as it was at last lap by. It was Garcia Arce and Braden Eves that made contact on entry. Eves got real squirrely off the corner and was forced to back out of that, but trying to battle his way back now.
Yeah, we are well past the halfway point. When they come back around here, Nikita Johnson, I believe, will put, he's just already put lap 19 in the books, so 11 laps still remaining. And again, just a fantastic train of drivers here. Mossman, as we expected, once he was by Garcia Arce, literally bolted out. 2.4 seconds already over a couple of laps. Mossman putting in big laps. In fact, he was 0.3 of a second quicker than Matt Clark that last time by for P6, but Clark has been able to get so far away. The gap between 6 and 7 separating as that battle happened with Garcia Arce holding everyone back. He's got a Scotto and Tatuus right behind him. Eves is right there, Liam Skeets, then the 2 turn 3 drivers, Danny Dushelski and Ethan Ho are right there as well, plus Cooper Becklin and Nico Christodoulou. So everybody really, the remaining kind of drivers are all stacked up in that fight that we're seeing coming down here right now into turn number 4. There's some side-by-side action. Again, that's Dushelski. Good fight here, Dushelski. I actually see Ho fighting with Becklin a little bit further back. So there is a lot of great racing happening here right now as Ho's holding off Becklin through turn number 7, 8, and back over to turn number 9. We'll see whether or not Braden Eves can line it back up to take the fight to Alessandro Tatuus. I think he saw Mossman make the move by, saw Mossman starting to pull away, and Eves was like, I got to get by. I know I'm quicker. And that's one of the things about Mid-Ohio. So many drivers will tell you that. They know they're quicker than the driver in front of them, but you just have to be so perfect in making that overtake. Then you start getting that aero wash. And John, you mentioned it earlier in the weekend. As you work your way up the ladder, aero wash, the push, getting stuck behind someone, just more and more and more of that being a problem, right? We don't have as much aerodynamic downforce in the USF Juniors and 2000 cars. When you stack the aero on the cars like we have right now, you're in trouble when you get behind somebody.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, the more downforce the car generates, the more it disturbs the air for the car following. So it's harder and harder as you go up the ladder to race close behind another car. So that forces you to be more tactical with your passing, because you got to find a mistake from the guy in front of you rather than just tucking on his gearbox and hoping to barge your way through.
So interesting, the fight we're seeing here right now. You've got George Garcia Arce as he's leading the way. He's got the 2 BN cars behind him. Ricardo Escoto sitting there in 8th spot, or 9th spot rather. Behind him, Alessandro Tatuus, his teammate, making his debut. I don't see Tatuus being super aggressive on his teammate trying to go by. Ricardo Escoto currently in the 11th place in the point standings, trying to potentially work his way up into the top 10. There's no real benefit for Tatuus finishing 9th or 8th or wherever it is, right? He's here to get experience for 2025. So that may be a good thing for Escoto. I don't know that he's going to have a big challenge from his teammate Tatuus. Tatuus may be better to try to hold off Braden Eves to keep him back, as opposed to going on the attack front to try to find a way by his teammate Escoto. Let Escoto go after Garcia Arce, and then when he gets him, I'll go next.
Exactly right. It's a bit of a surprise to me, Frankie Mossman, the only Jay Howard car in this field. Jay Howard's got a big presence in juniors and USF 2000. So, it's kind of a surprise to me that he's only got one car in the USF Pro 2000.
Indeed, that we've obviously seen Christian Rasmussen run for that team for many years, coming up through the ranks all the way to IndyCar. Again, drivers working their way down into turn number 4. Steve, you had an observation out of the racetrack?
Yeah, I'm actually watching the leaders, Nikita Johnson and Jace Denmark. Denmark, is each time he gets into that aero wash and it slides back, he's turning the fastest laps. He's almost down into the 117 mark. And it seems like if he can get up there and get him around Nikita Johnson, he's going to start to pull away. Definitely the fastest car on the racetrack.
Yeah, a couple laps ago I said 1.4 seconds, right? It's really been 1/10 of a second here, 1/10 of a second there. This last time by, Denmark actually 0.3 quicker. You mentioned getting into the 17s. Well, he's done it. A 1:17.970 fast lap of the race right now for Jace Denmark with 8 more to go. That's a bonus point as well. And Denmark trying to close up on Lockie Hughes, who runs P4. They will take anything they can get, but Denmark most definitely the driver kind of stepping things up right now. Is it Nikita Johnson maybe taking it easy, taking a breather a little bit? He knows what kind of room he has as the number 3 of Danny Dushelski comes into pit lane, or is Denmark just picking things up at the end of the race here? Is he quicker? I will say that Christian Brooks as well, faster than Nikita Johnson last time by. Sykes about the same pace as Nikita. Are the Pabst cars set up to come maybe in a little bit later in this race? Will we see a challenge from Jace Denmark? He's down to 1.2 seconds, not anywhere close to having that aero wash issue. So if he does get close, can he still maintain that pace? Because right now it's a significant lead still. They'll come out of the carousel. Let's have a look at it now. We'll definitely have another look at lap times. I always love to look at those lap times. It's really indicative of kind of the way the race is moving. Lap 23 coming down as they come back through, make that official. 118 flat for Johnson. Denmark falls off to a 118.2. Was there any aero wash? Did he make a minor mistake? For Denmark, being able to turn a 117.9, you got to start doing that lap after lap after lap. You can't, again, let Nikita pull that back out to 1.4, John, where it is again.
You know, talking about Frankie Mossman, you know, Matt Clark kind of in a lonely sixth spot. He's 12 seconds behind Simon Sykes in fifth, so he's kind of been in cruise control mode. Frankie Mossman, after making that pass, has really begun to eke into that lead. He's still got 5 seconds to make up, but Mossman has been consistently quicker than Clark up until this last lap. So Mossman's trying to do a battle for that top 6. I don't know if he's got enough laps to make up a 5-second gap, though.
Yeah, let's throw in an update on the battles behind Braden Eves. We talked about the fact that Nicolas Baptiste was in it. Danny Jashelski was in there as well. Right now, Jashelski, as we talked about earlier, into pit lane, an issue for him in the number 3 machine. Baptiste out early. Tyke Durst, as we know, off the racetrack. Ethan Ho has now worked his way up into the 12th spot. Liam Skeets now runs 13th. Nico Christodoulou in 14th. And it's Cooper Becklin, Nicholas Montiero, and Logan Adams, the final drivers on the lead lap. Back across the line again for Nikita Johnson here as we're watching these drivers work their way through 5 and 6. I just want a quick look at lap times. Johnson getting another 1/10 of a second on Jace Denmark. Actually, to be honest, Christian Brooks closing a little bit up on Jace, his teammate here right now. Brooks did a 1:18.0. He's now just 1.4 behind Denmark. He's got enough room back to Lockie Hughes, who looks pretty comfortable now, P4. For Lockie, I got a 50-point lead. P4, it's not perfect,
sure,
but I'll take those points and roll into the next race today.
Absolutely right. Yeah, like I said, Lockie's kind of in cruise control mode. Simon Sykes might be challenging him, though. Simon just set his best lap, and he's only 3/4 of a second behind him. So that could be a battle for 4th and 5th still brewing. Then Matt Clark by himself. Mossman continues to chip away at it. Now he's got about 4.2 seconds to make up if he's going to have anything to say about a 6th-place finish.
So Nikita's got the bonus point for pole. He's already got most laps led at 24, so nobody's going to take that away from him. If he gets the victory, it's going to be 32 points unless he can get that fast lap of the race. That still belongs to Jace Denmark at a 1:17.97. That would be a nice marker for Jace to close up a little bit on Lockie Hughes. And again, like I said, not the worst-case scenario for Lockie Hughes, except for the fact that the 3 drivers behind him are the 3 drivers that are ahead of him. Those who are chasing him in the championship standings are all ahead of him on the racetrack. So it's a net negative for Lockie Hughes, but still good points. Every time you're not losing too much on the way to the end of the weekend, or the end of the year, it's double headers all the way through, right? 2 races in Toronto, 2 in Portland as well. He's doing what he needs to do. Frankie Mossman having a good run, currently 7th, but Steve, a little bit of an issue in turn number 9.
Yeah, he got onto the brakes and clipped that yellow curbing, and back end of that car started dancing all around, and as his fuel was burning off, that car definitely got really light. He had his hands full, so we'll lose a little distance on the racetrack.
A little late run wake-up call potentially, right? You kind of get into a groove, you get into your rhythm, and every once in a while, as you said, the car starts to get lighter and lighter. Thankfully, the fuel cell in the car is kind of midway through. You don't lose a lot of rear to front balance at all. Car's still very balanced, very strong, but again, all it takes is that one little slip up, especially coming through turn number 9. John and I have reiterated that over the entire weekend, how tough that corner is as you rotate the car, it gets super light. All it takes is 6-7 inches too far to the left, you drop a wheel, and your 4 wheels off there, and you're at that point trying to hold on to the car. So indeed, Mossman needs to stay focused, especially when you're in that place where you're kind of by yourself. Mossman is well in front of George Garcia. He's slowly closing up a couple 1/10 of a second a lap on Matt Clark, but not really close enough to think he's going to be able to make a pass, as there's only 4 laps to go. You get John into that middle place where you're just banging out laps, you got to stay super focused.
Yeah, exactly right. The battle is still great behind Garcia Arce, and I want to give him props. I mean, he started back in row 7, and he's up into 8th position. He was running as high as 7th before Mossman got around him. So he's doing a great job keeping some really fast drivers behind him. ADT is still keeping pressure on his teammate Escoto just behind them, and Braden Eves resurgent as he's closed back up as well.
Yeah, he's the one that's actually getting challenged in a big way right now. Ethan Ho is putting a ton of pressure on. He looked to the inside at 9. He was almost side by side coming up through 10 and 11 as well. Ethan Ho trying to find his way up to the 11th position. That is it right there. There's 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. It's just he Skeets and Chris Tadulu. I think Beckler may have got by Chris Tadulu as well. There's a move further back, side by side. 4 laps remaining for Nikita Johnson to roll in here and potentially knock out his 4th win of the season. He has not been on a good run. 17th after a crash with Ethan Ho at the Freedom 90 on the oval at IRP. Then at Road America, 7th, 13th, and 6th. Those are not normal Nikita Johnson results. So he is looking to bounce back here at Mid-Ohio. And with 6 races to finish the season, doubleheaders here, Toronto and Portland. Man, a driver gets on a roll here and starts getting that confidence back. I think still all bets are off until we get to Portland, because let's put it this way. The opening corner there, the festival chicane, anything can happen when it comes to a championship.
Well, sure, and like I said, you've got 66 points on offer each weekend, and that could turn the championship on its head. I mean, you know, Lockie Hughes with a 50-point lead. It's going to be less than 50 coming out of this race. That's hardly secure with 2 more double headers to come after this weekend.
Nico Christodoulou able to get by Ethan Ho on that lap, so move him up into the 12th spot. Escoto still sitting there in 9th behind Garciarci. Has not been able to make the move. There's 3rd, 4th, 5th place drivers right there. Simon Sykes in 5th. Look at the gap from 5th. We wait and wait and wait. Where's Matt Clark? That's the gap that they have developed. Top 5 have flat checked out. Matt Clark is the next driver. Look at that gap, 14 seconds to Matt Clark. And then there's Frankie Mossman trying to reel him in, and he has been doing that lap after lap, a couple of tenths of a second a lap. He's still 3.5 back, so I don't see Mossman getting it done, but nonetheless a great job for Mossman. The biggest battle here right now is this fight we're seeing further back with Garciarci, Escoto, Tatuus. I think it looks to me like Eves may have lost another position. Nico Christodoulou, I think, able to get by Braden Eves as well. So Braden now back to 12th after a very confidence-inspiring P1 in the opening practice session on Thursday. They've not been able to translate that into race pace here today. 2 laps to go for Nikita Johnson. They'll work their way again, as I said, out of turn number 1. Rusty, I believe the leader's in front of you.
Down the straightaway right now, we have seen a little bit of smoke out of the Simon Sykes car as he comes around turn 1. Looks like maybe a rear axle seal, but the car's staying on track and his lap times look good. So I think he'll be good for the end of this one.
Yeah, those first 5 already by us here. We don't see any smoke behind the Sykes car now.
And the leader's up over the hill through turn number 10. That gap has opened up a little bit from Johnson back to Denmark a couple laps ago as Christian Brooks came through here, clipped the curb, and dropped a wheel off. Not too much lost in that one. This time keeps it on track. They're up through turn 11.
Over the last couple laps, Christian Brooks has most definitely eaten into the gap between he and Chase Denmark, quicker by 0.3 of a second on lap number 28. White flag flying this time by for Nikita Johnson. 18.2 for Nikita. What do we got for Johnson? An 18.3. Brooks an 18 flat. Again, another 0.3 of a second. Brooks closing. It's going to be too little too late as it's the final lap. The leaders, the top 5, essentially the top 7, are alone on the racetrack. This is 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. Look at this. This is this battle we're seeing further back. What a great scrap we've had throughout the day here, deeper in the field. Final lap on the racetrack right now for Nikita Johnson. Going to get his 4th win of the season. He'll be able to try to back it up this afternoon as we go racing once again. 4:50 start time for USF Pro 2000 and the back end of their doubleheader here. Just a tremendous run for Nikita Johnson. 1.5 seconds the current gap. There's the leaders coming through here. There's again the easy to spot yellow halo for the deploy surveillance car, Christian Brooks for Pabst Racing. Lockie Hughes closing up. Simon Sykes, actually, all those drivers turning 18 flat. Some really good lap times from Brooks, Hughes, and Sykes on the final circuit. Fast lap actually belongs to Simon Sykes now, 1:17.9. So there's your bonus point. But out of the final corner, folks, through the carousel, onto the front straightaway. 4 wins on the season. Nikita Johnson, victorious in the opening race here at Mid-Ohio for USF Pro 2000. He is the winner of the Tatuus Grand Prix. First of 2 races. This is the battle still happening. The leaders are already done. They're across the line. Let's hope these drivers get home cleanly. We got side-by-side through 7. That was a big move further back. I want to say that might have been, I think, Skeets and Becklin battling with Ethan Ho. Yeah, Ethan Ho able to get back out front there. It's the final circuit as he went full defensive coming out of turn number 6. Final drivers coming through here. There's the 2 BN racing cars behind Garcia Arce. Garcia Arce is going to hold them off. Good run for all of those drivers. And a big shout out to Alessandro Tatuus, a top 10 in his debut here this week. And no, actually ends up at 11th as Nico Christodoulou first got by Eves, then he got by Tatuus. What a great run for Christodoulou in that one. Started 18th, he ends up 10th. Excellent drive for the VRD pilot. And again, Nikita Johnson with the win, the margin of victory, 1.3 seconds. There are your unofficial results as Jace Denmark coming home in the 2nd spot. Christian Brooks ends up in 3rd. Lockie Hughes in 4th. Simon Sykes rounding out the top 5 with the fast lap bonus point as well, 117.909 for Simon Sykes. Matt Clark, a lonely race in 6th position, kind of cruised around there, but crucial points for Matt Clark. Frankie Mossman able to get by Garcia Arce midway through and then flat jet away. He was able to get 14 seconds out in front, finishing in the 7th spot. Garcia Arce holding off a race-long battle and pressure from Ricardo Escoto and Alessandro Tatuus. Garcia Arce 8th, Escoto 9th, and as we said, Christodoulou slipping by Tatuus for 10th. Nonetheless, Alessandro Tatuus in his debut weekend finishing in 11th position in the opening race. Great job for him. Braden Eves did not go the right way, started 5th, ended up 12th, just went backwards throughout the majority of that race. Ethan Ho, 13th, he was able to hold off Liam Skeets and Cooper Becklin there on the last lap. Logan Adams soldiered around after that big wreck at Road America. They put a new car together, just got it finished up earlier this week. So really just one of those kind of get out there, get comfortable, run good laps, stay out of trouble for Logan Adams, like some of the drivers here, all focused on 2025 for him.
Exactly right. Montiero, Deshelsky, Baptiste, and Durst, your top 20. As that's the unofficial results. Rob Howden's going to make his way down to the podium to talk to our victorious 3 drivers. We'll have a chance as we can see number 17 of Nikita Johnson pulling up in front of the Mid-Ohio podium, and he's going to jump out of that cockpit and celebrate for sure, as this will be his 5th win on the year, and that's going to put him very much right back in the championship hunt. Not that he was ever really out of it, but he's going to put a challenge on Jace Denmark, who again had a great run into 2nd place. Christian Brooks in the 19 car up into 3rd with Lockie Hughes, the points leader, finishing in 4th. Again, the top 4 drivers separated by just about 4 seconds. It was very, very close for the top 4, pretty much all race long. Simon Sykes made a race of it at the end by setting fast lap, closing to within 2 seconds of Lockie Hughes at the stripe. Frankie Mossman, after spending the first part of the race behind Garcia Arce, eventually got past him and then just set sail as he had about a 7-8 second gap to Matt Clark, and he closed that down to a 1.5 seconds at the end. So Mossman set his fastest lap on the last lap. So good for him, for the Jay Howard driver, to make a valiant charge to try to get up into the top 6, but a 7th place finish he'll certainly take. Garcia Arce held off the battle behind him. It was the best battle on the racetrack pretty much all race long. Garcia Arce and then Escoto with Christodoulou with a last lap pass on ADT, excuse me, with Braden Eves, unfortunately, as Rob said, going the wrong direction, starting inside of row 3 and unfortunately ending this race in 12th on what may be his last weekend in this car, unless he can find some funding to move on to Toronto and Portland to wrap out the season. Is Rob making his way down toward the victory podium? We'll hold it right here until he makes his way there to welcome our top 3 drivers. Meanwhile, as we sounds like Rob Howden is mounted the podium making his way down. So, Rob, we'll turn it over to you for the podium celebration.
John, thank you so much. Again, down here in Victory Lane for the first of 2 races here in the Tatuus Grand Prix for the drivers in the USF Pro 2000 category. All told, a pretty uneventful race up front. The battle actually further back, that fight for 8th on back that we saw. Drivers up front, though, all doing a good job. When you think about the championship, your goal is to be better and finish better than the point leader. All 3 of our podium drivers did that. The point leader, Lockie Hughes, finishing in 4th. So all 3 of these drivers making up points on the current championship leader. Finishing in 3rd spot today, folks. He has a busy day in USF Pro, 2 races plus Indy next. Christian Brooks coming home P3 for Pabst Racing. Great way to start off a busy day for Christian. 3rd spot in the race here, and he'll again make up ground on Lockie Hughes in the championship fight. Finishing in 2nd, a strong run all race long, folks. P2 for Pabst Racing, Jace Denmark. Solid run for Jace, another 2nd place finishes, trying to get that first win, but a great job there for Jace. Jace, grab your trophy there. But the driver getting the win today, a very crucial victory for him for sure, able to get back on top, another win on the season, closing up in the championship. The winner today, the dominant factor for VRD Racing, Nikita Johnson. Nikita, how important is this race for you to get back on top? I know it's been a rough kind of run through it, but today, absolutely perfect.
Yeah, we lost a lot of points at Indy and Road America, so it's great to be back on top and gain a lot of points. We gained a good bit on Lockie and a little bit on Jace, but it's good just to be back on the top step.
I watched your times a lot through that race, right? And they were super consistent. 18 flats, maybe an 18.2 here. Do you feel that in the car? Was it real consistent for you?
Yeah, I feel the driver and the car is very consistent today, so we'll see for race 2, but we've been very consistent in practice and qualifying, and now we can show our race pace.
Who do you want to thank today?
I want to thank all of VRD, especially Dan Mitchell, Jacob Loomis, Russ, Hugo, my mechanic, my dad for being here, and then the rest of my family back home, my mom and brother. All my sponsors for helping make this happen, and then yeah, just all the team and then everybody back in Florida that's supporting me.
You told me yesterday if you won, you were going to shave that mustache off. Is it going to happen?
Yes, it will, but I'll wait until race 2. Maybe it's Lucky Stash. So.
All right, okay, Lucky Stash. I'll give you that. It's got to come off later, though. Grab that trophy. Nikita Johnson, folks. If it's a Lucky Stash, he's got to keep it. What a fantastic day. Like I said, those lap times were so good, so consistent. Jace was getting closer at one point, got it down to a 1.2 seconds, but all 3 of these drivers so evenly matched. If you look at their lap times, almost all equal. That pole position so crucial here at Mid-Ohio, and Nikita, of course, doing a great job taking full advantage of that. On the pole, got out to an early lead, and then held that position through 30 laps, grueling 30 laps for these drivers. And again, so give it up to them for sure. Nikita, Jace, and of course Christian. Remember, all 3 of these drivers just 2 steps away from the NTT IndyCar Series. We talk a lot about the success of driver that moved up. Guys, time to celebrate for the first time today. Grab that champagne, grip it and rip it. Just keep the champagne away from my photographers. There he is, folks. Champagne flying for the first time today here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. 4 races as part of the USF Pro Championships Tatuus Grand Prix. Little bit of time, we're going to have the drivers in USF Juniors, then USF 2000. And, of course, the last race of the day for those of you campers around the racetrack enjoying it will be these drivers here, USF Pro 2000, back on the racetrack once again to cap off their doubleheader. We'll see whether or not Nikita Johnson can do it again for VRD. On behalf of Anderson Promotions and Continental Tires, folks, thanks you so much for tuning into the broadcast. My name's Rob Howden. Bye for now. Contact between 2 drivers.